What makes a contract readable? And why does it need to be readable? Well, most contracts fail not because of legal, technical, or business expertise, which is lacking, but a failure to implement them, a failure to use the contract to guide the task or the project that's meant to be carried out. Now, a failure of implementation is normally a failure of reading or understanding the contract. Now, it could be the contract is way too long, so let's make it a bit simpler. It could be that it's way too complicated. Let's make it a little bit clearer. It could be that it uses too much jargon. Let's make it more human. You see, contract writers need to remember they are essentially drafting a communication tool. It's getting what's in the mind of the client into the mind of the consultant, the contractor, the company providing those goods, or vice versa. We need everyone to be on the same page. So we need to communicate clearly what we know as experts to those people who've never used this sort of service before. It's really, really important to think about what they need to know. We need empathy, we need clarity, we need simplicity, we need accessibility. So when it comes to a readable contract, you need to think about the context of your reader, how accessible it is. Can they actually access what the words you've used are? Now, this is a contract from 5,000 years ago and is written in cuneiform. And I've used this before because it's simple, but we don't actually understand it very well now. And a lot of our contracts might as well be written in cuneiform on a stone cold tablet because we virtually never get to open them, we never get to see them, and even if we did, we haven't got a clue what they say. How about communicating in a way which is simple and transparent? It reduces the number of queries you'll get, it reduces the scope for disputes about what it meant, and it allows people to say, hang on, you know, this clause, I don't really understand it. What does it mean? See, people have confidence if 99% they understand to ask about the other bit. But if it's the other way around, if they don't understand 99%, they don't even know where to start to ask those questions. So if you want to make it readable, you really need to think about how you're going to communicate with the users. You really need to think about what you can do. You need to use simple, straightforward, human-centered language. You need to think about whether or not colour or graphs or icons or visuals will help convey your message and get people to read it. You need to think about how you can empathise with the person who needs to implement this. What sort of language do they talk in? What sort of words would make sense to them in the context that they're reading it in? If you want people to make a snap decision on your contract, you need to keep it short. If it's a long project, yeah, you can make it a bit longer because they've got time and luxury of reviewing that contract. But you need to think about communicating properly, using the right medium of communication, paper, email, tablet, clay tablet. You need to think about the context in which they'll get it, the type of people who'll be reading it. So I did some work for a company who provide services to elderly, vulnerable and disabled people in order to allow them to live in their home. And their contract, well, it wasn't very good. It didn't have a simple page that just said who was doing what, why, when, and for how much. That was a key project data, really important, like Verity White's reverse contract sandwich. But also, it didn't have what the client, the disabled, vulnerable or elderly person was doing separated out from everything else. They had to read it all. Yes, it wasn't a long contract, but actually to make something readable means that we have to allow people to find things quickly when they need it. And that's a really key thing that this contract didn't do. So we restructured it, made it simple, didn't assume they understood what any of the construction jargon we so love meant. They didn't necessarily know what the Party Walls Act was or CDM regulations or any of these other words that we bandy around because we've been in the industry for decades. No, to them, whew, you weren't getting their attention. If you don't get their attention, then your contract's not noteworthy. And if it's not noteworthy, they can't really do their job. And they can't carry out their role if they don't understand what their role is. So it's important to make your contract readable, because then it will be read, then it can be understood and negotiated, then it can be implemented, and that will get rid of 99% of disputes. So if you make your contract readable, people will read it. Hooray! It should be on your website. Hooray! It should be easily accessible. Hooray! We don't need to bamboozle people with contracts. We need to use your contracts to safeguard your business without annoying your clients, your suppliers, the people who read your contracts. You don't need to play to the gallery of judges. You need to play to the gallery of public opinion when you write your contracts. Keep it simple.